Okay, so you haven't heard from me for a little while. This is a turbo, or the turbo of the Insignia that I've been rebuilding the engine on. And basically the issue that we have is overboost. So due to a faulty solenoid, faulty boost solenoid, the vehicle's been suffering from overboost, and basically it has unfortunately destroyed itself. Now the turbo, believe it or not, the turbo core is actually not all that old. It's about 6 weeks old. Basically what's happened is, because the turbo has spun a lot faster than it's designed to, and then the VNT system has tried to control it, it causes what's called cavitation, which is basically where the compressor wheel spins up really fast, and then the VNT tries to slow it down, and obviously what happens is you've got one force opposing another, which causes damage to the bearings in the turbo, and then over time obviously those bearings fail, and then you get movement in the compressor wheel. So I don't know if you can actually see it, but there's quite a bit of movement in that compressor wheel there. Here is the actual compressor cover, and you can see, if you look very closely, there are sort of scratches just on the inside of the cover. Now, scratches on the inside of the cover, they're not great, but it is going to be reusable. We can reuse this, so that's not the end of the world. But I thought, while I had it off, it would be a good opportunity to actually show you the inside of the turbo and show you what it looks like and how it works. So this is the VNT system. Here is the actuator that controls it. So the actuator is vacuum operated, like some of the older turbos were, but it is monitored using a little electronic device here, which tells the ECU the exact position of the actuator, which is supposed to make things a little bit more accurate, and no doubt does. Okay, so on this style of diesel, we don't have a wastegate. You know, a lot of people talk about wastegates, and on some diesels they do have wastegates, but not very many these days. The VNT system is really good, and I'll explain why. So basically what you've got is you've got exhaust gases going in here, and as you can see, it comes around the actual turbine housing itself, and because it does that, it actually accelerates. Now, in the old days, it would just literally just vent into the turbine, and you would rely upon the eventual build-up of speed of the turbine to then drive the compressor. Now it's a little bit more scientific, so the gases come through there like that and go round in that sort of motion, which helps them to accelerate. Then they get onto the VNT. Now, what the VNT is a series of blades, which, as you can see, are operated using the solenoid. I'm going to do this with my hand, so you're going to have to forgive me a little bit if it looks shit. Okay, so the blades themselves focus and force the gases onto the turbine. So there's the turbine blade there. Okay, so as the gases come into that section, obviously they're forced around by the shape of the turbine housing. If we want maximum boost as quickly as possible, those blades will move, and as you can see, they're now pointing directly at the compressor, at the turbine itself, which will obviously accelerate the speed at which the turbine then starts to do its job. The benefit of that is obviously that you can get a great deal of boost a lot quicker, because we're not having to rely upon the gases and the inertia of the gases to slowly accelerate the turbine. You're focusing the blast of that hot gas straight onto the turbine blades, because the actual blades of the VNT, which you can see moving there, force the gases directly onto the actual turbine blades themselves, which obviously is going to help to accelerate them a lot quicker. Once we are at the required boost that we need to be at, in order to allow the gases to actually vent nice and quickly and prevent a restriction, the blades will open back up fully to allow those gases to then vent as quickly as possible and they vent through the turbine here, through this hole, and then obviously through this hole here, and then obviously into the exhaust and out, eventually out the back end of the car. Now this turbine itself, I'm looking at what I'm going to do with it. I'm in two minds, if the truth be told. I'm thinking to myself, you know, is it time to start modifying? You know, the Insignia as it stands at the moment is running about 210-ish brake horsepower. It's had a remap. The swirl flaps have been removed. The DPF has been removed. The DPF pipe itself, I bought myself a DPF pipe which replaces the DPF. I've hidden it behind the original actual covers, which I'll show you now.